Acuña. Join me in Speak with Success every Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Together, let us conquer the fear. Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of Speak with Success. Tonight, let us talk about using speaking to teach. There are different types of speaking, and the first is informative speaking. The main purpose of informative speaking is to give information, convey knowledge, and understanding. So this is more of speaking to teach. It is not intended to change audience attitudes or feelings about a certain topic. It is not designed to persuade, motivate, or inspire. So the strategy is to inform and to explain. Inform to be able to create awareness and give new information. And explain is to give a deeper understanding on a certain topic or clarify information. Inform like give information as to why cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health, and to explain further the processes to what happens to the lungs when smoke is inhaled can be discussed to explain it further. So informative speaking happens at one of the three levels. So the first level is what we call the formal. So when an audience is gathered in a location to hear you talk, like if you get invited to talk in an event or in a convention, this is considered as the formal level. So only people with achievements and accomplishments are usually invited as speakers, as they speak mostly their experiences. So formal invitations brings high expectation from your audience. So make sure you are prepared when you get invited to give a formal talk. So the second level is the vocational, which is the most common form of informative speaking. So they speak as part of their career, like the teachers who spends countless hours on lectures, the trainers in the companies that we are in. So the third level is what we call the impromptu. This is our everyday interaction with people in our everyday lives. So giving instructions to a family member or a colleague. So this is our daily conversation and others. So we do this on a daily basis. So there are different categories where informative speech emerge, which includes objects, processes, events, concepts, peoples, and issues. So let's talk about this one by one, so to make this clear. So when we talk about objects, so we usually convey non-human material like plants, animals. So as a speaker, to be able to create interest, we have to choose an object that is not familiar to our audience. So we must be able to highlight something about it and give interesting facts. So the second is the processes. So this is more on a step-by-step process or a systematic series of actions that leads to a specific result, like understanding a process better and make listeners do the process. Like in baking, there are tutorials on how to make and bake a specific cake. So this is what we call the processes. So the third is event. So these are usually a discussion on the important things that happens, like histories of certain events, like the things that happen in our lives, in the history of the Philippines, like the people power. In discussing events, it is important to provide a backstory to make it more interesting. And then the fourth is the concepts, which are the less concrete form of speaking, as these are discussion about ideas, theories, or principles that still needs to be proven. So these are the concepts. And so the next are people. So these are the real or fictional stories about a person either living or dead. So this requires an in-depth research. Example of this are biographies of our leaders or a person who did an extraordinary thing that we should remember in our history. So the important people in our countries usually discuss in our history classes. But as educators, it is relevant to include something personal about the lives of the people we are discussing. So to make it more interesting. So the sixth is all about issues. So these are problems or disputes or a matter of concern in our society, like discussion on vaccinations, as there are still people who does not want to get vaccinated. So this is more on current events. So informative speaking needs a sharp research skills because factual and engaging information are being discussed. We must find credible sources for our materials. So hindi pwede kung saan-saan mo na lang kinuha. And then you must be able to provide the sources of that materials. It is important to engage your audience as some boring topics might shift the audience interest in listening. Diba yung iba, tumitingin sa'yo parang hindi na rin naman. So trivias and interesting facts can spice up your talk. So you have to include them in your speech. In my line of work, I do informative speaking when I train my team, like in product trainings, and this kind of presentation usually bores them. I can see them looking at me with a blank stare, with their thoughts flying and their minds exploring other things. Some of them also are browsing their mobile phones, some are chit-chatting. It is very important to engage them to make sure they are absorbing the information that you are telling them. It may be hard at times to make them participate in the discussion, but as long as you create interest and create connection, this will help you engage them more. You can engage them by asking them questions like, what is your greatest learning about the discussion? What are your learning so far? As this question prompts them to think and visualize, they tend to think on what they learned. These questions are far more engaging than asking them the usual question being asked, like, did you understand what we have discussed? As they can simply answer yes without thinking. Asking the right questions can open up minds to discovering new things. So these are the different ways of uh, capturing your audience. There are different ways of informing an audience. So the first is through definition, by defining things clearly. For example, you are discussing an object like a new invention or a new gadget. Defining its function and how it may help make your life easier by using it can create interest as well to your audience. Diba? Yung mga bagong gadgets, yung, diba, meron ng mga heartbeat monitor. So this can create interest. So it's very important that we research on this. The second is through description. This is by creating verbal images. Good description are based on good observations. It should invoke a sensory reaction from your audience. Like parang, di ba, pag dinedescribe mo, parang nai-imagine na nila. So, an example of this is in describing a certain dish in cooking. So, imagining it, and it may also cause your audience to salivate. So, this is more of creating verbal images. Dapat makatotohanan yung sinasabi mo. Para at least parang nabubuhayan sila ng loob at nabubuhay yung attention nila in listening to you. And one more example of this in describing a certain horrible events that you have witnessed. 'Di ba minsan yung mga nakakatakot na nakita mo, it can also invoke fear to your audience. So, and another thing is through demonstration. So these are verbal directions with physical demonstration. So example of this are cooking demonstrations, yung mga nakikita natin sa YouTube, yung mga chef na nagluluto. Ito yung mga bagay kung saan nakakakuha tayo ng mga step-by-step instruction in making something or in making a dish. Like yung mga how-to videos. Ito din na isang magandang example nito. Yung parang how to drive a car, how to operate a certain machinery, yung mga video editing tutorials, and a lot more. And then the fourth is through explanation and answering the how questions. Yung mga question na how does this work? How to manage your time? This can be used to simplify complex demonstrations. To be an effective informative speaker, you just have to make sure that the main purpose of your talk is to inform and educate and not to persuade. Kasi ibang way of speaking na yung about sa persuasion. And then you have to make people understand and not to make people change something in themselves. More on, maintindihan nila yung isang bagay. At hindi yung baguhin nila yung something sa sarili nila. Dapat din hindi natin ino-overload yung audience. Diba? Yung information, dapat ang ibibigay nating information are those that our audience can process and digest. And then, the third is you have to engage your audience. You have to ask questions and you also have to welcome questions for them to be able to get a clear answer. So here ends our discussion for tonight. I hope I was able to give value and additional insights on how you can improve your public speaking skills. Before we end, I hope you can like and follow my FB pages, Success Project, Coach Says, and Film Life Legaspi. Feel free to message or comment if you need assistance on financial planning, life coaching, and wealth and financial coaching. Please also subscribe and don't forget to press the notification bell, like, share, and comment to Coach Says of Success Project YouTube channel. And also, please follow the Greatness Hub online channel on Facebook. Thank you and good night.